Hi, my name is Dana Schroeder and I live in the Little High neighborhood in Charlottesville. Today, I'm going to show you how you can set up a vermicompost system, also known as a worm bin. So composting is a great way to keep food scraps out of the landfill and get nutrient-rich soil for free. Vermicomposting is great for if you don't have a yard. It's great for if you have had an outdoor compost pile, but animals have gotten into your pile. It can also be great for if you do not have easy access to one of the drop-off centers for compost around town. So if any of these are the case, I suggest moving your compost pile indoors and using worms. So vermicomposting, composting with worms. It's super fun, especially great for kids, and I'll show you how to get started. So first, I would recommend keeping your worm bin in a basement or garage. This is great because it can be a little bit messy, but also worms need a shady, medium temperature environment. So they can't really just be outside. It's best to have a little bit of temperature regulation that a basement or a garage provides. So to start, you're gonna want to buy any kind of plastic bin. This is the one I have here that I think is a good size for one person or a household of two people. You might want a bigger one if you have a bigger family, but I'd recommend getting one that's kind of shallow and wide. Imagine a plastic bin that you would store shoes or something underneath a bed. So you're going to need a plastic bin and you're going to need to drill holes in it using a pretty big drill bit. So I've got holes on my lid here, but if you have a bigger bin, you might also want to drill some holes around the side. Once you have your bin and it's all ventilated, you're going to want to take paper shreds. These can be finely shredded papers like this, or even just newspapers or other papers that you tear apart by hand. And we want to get these paper shreds wet, and we kind of need a lot of them. So I'm going to just take handfuls and dunk them in water. Then I'm going to wring them out so that they're just damp, not super duper wet. And then I'm going to spread them out along the bottom of my bin. So I'll do that real quick. You'd want to cover the bottom of your bin with these paper scraps, and you'll keep adding them throughout your use of your compost bin. So this is a great way to keep your paper out of the landfill as well. So you need more of these than you might expect. Like I said, go ahead and put a ton of paper shreds at the bottom of your bin. Then what you're going to need is a little bit of dirt. I just scooped this out of my garden, and it's really, you don't need a ton, but this is going to be a grit that helps the worms digest all the scraps that you're going to put into their bin. After you add your dirt, it's time to add your worms. So this is really all they need to get started. You can find red wiggler worms in your backyard. Maybe after it rains, you can go out and collect a few that have emerged to the surface. But I've always done worm composting where you can actually get red wiggler worms from a bait shop, or you can even order them online and have them delivered to your door. I've used a company called Uncle Jim's Worm Farm before, and it's pretty fun to have a little bag of worms show up at my doorstep. Once you have your worms, you're ready to start adding kitchen scraps. So there are different things that you can put in a worm compost bin than you might put in other compost bins. So you're not going to want to put in any meat or dairy products. So mostly plant-based things, but eggshells are also really great. You're going to want to have fruits and veggies mostly. And so I like to have my scraps from when I'm cooking. They're already a little bit chopped up to make it easier for the worms to break down. They're not too oily, which can cause problems for your bin. I don't put too much citrus in here. Orange peels are fine, but if your bin was like mostly lemons and limes, you'd have a problem. And then I also do add carbs like bread or pasta that's gone bad, but I don't do too much of that either. I've got mostly fruits and veggie scraps. Coffee grounds and filters are also wonderful for your compost bin. And you can also include paper towels, napkins, tissues, things like that. So worms are going to eat all of that stuff and transform it into worm castings, aka great nutrient-rich soil, aka worm poop. Kids love that part, but that's how our great soils are made all across the world through microorganisms and worms. So throughout their lives, worms love living in a dark and damp environment. They do not like bright and they do not like dry. So it's good to keep your bin covered. Actually, a black trash bag is a great thing to just lay on top to preserve some of that moisture and to block out light. You can also use an opaque bin, which might help. Now, usually they'll stay in their bin because it's nice and moist and nice and dark. But if you have a problem where your worms are crawling out of your bin at night, which could happen, try shining a lamp on top of your bin overnight so that they don't want to emerge. You're going to want to keep it damp. You're going to want to water your bin every time you add paper. You want that paper to be damp. And you can also water your bin a little bit anytime it's looking dry. However, you don't want your worm bin to look gloppy. And if that's the case, you're going to want to mix in more paper to dry it out a little bit and get some more airflow going for your worms. So as you use your bin, I would recommend going row by row and burying your scraps. So when you have scraps, put them along this edge first, bury them up, and then next time you go add scraps, put them in a row right next to that. And then once it looks like your worms have generated a lot of good soil for you, I would stop adding paper or scraps to one half of the bin. Give them a few weeks to finish breaking down the things on that side, but then you can uncover that side of the bin. So sort of take your cover and only have it on half. Then you fluff up your dirt a little bit so that it can dry out. And if you shine a light on it, that will encourage all the worms to move to the other side of your bin. That way you can harvest your good worm castings without losing your worm population. And that's it. All your scraps have been broken down. You have this great nutrient-rich soil. If you want more information about worm composting, the best book out there is called Worms Eat My Garbage. It's like the Bible for worm composting. So thanks for watching. Good luck with your worm bin and happy Earth Day every day.